Everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. Today we are looking at the Age of Exploration. I have a couple of names up here, a couple of notes that we're going to take. That is what we're doing today. But this Age of Exploration, let's start with an explanation because we do have a lot of stuff going on. So, the age, I didn't even write, the age of exploration. Alright, the Age of Exploration. If you do not know what that means, then I will tell you. Exploration means to go out there and see new things, discover new areas, and go see. Go explore. Exploration. So this Age of Exploration is going to be still in Europe, as we were talking about the Protestant Reformation. So the Age of Exploration, we can even put in here, Europe. There's other explorers, but what we're talking about when we talk about an age of exploration is Europe is going to explore the globe. They're going to go around the world. Explorers have always existed. There's been, people have wanted to see new things, go new places. That's one thing. But when we're talking about a whole age of exploration, we're specifically talking about this age of exploration in Europe. Beginning really, it starts with the Portuguese of all people. And the Portuguese get out there and they try to find spices. That is the big push that begins this age of exploration. So I will even say it here. We can say this starts because of spices. This is important. So Europe had come into contact with, obviously, the Middle East and parts of Asia over land, and they had been exposed to, they have seen, they have tasted different spices, things like salt and pepper, and then on top of that, a whole number of spices. If you know anything about cooking, you would know that there are tons of different spices. They give flavor to food, they help preserve food, it is mind-blowing for the people of Europe because they're actually, with spices, the food that they're eating has flavor, tastes good, isn't rotten. Spices are super important. Spices are like gold to the Europeans. I can't express to you how big spices. Think about it. We're talking about a whole age of exploration based on just spices. So, spices are what starts the age of exploration, but then it's going to gradually move into some other things. So let's start with a couple of there's tons of different explorers, tons of different sailors. There are a huge number of them. Two of the largest, most well-known ones are one, Columbus, accidentally, I guess we say this, people say discovers America. However, I like to put the caveat in of discovers America for Europeans. Because obviously, as we know, because we just went over it a few weeks ago, there was Native Americans, people already lived here. So it wasn't like he discovered it and there was no one here. There was obviously people here, but he does discover the Americas for Europe, for the Europeans. He is going to be technically, during this time, the Age of Exploration, the first person from Europe to come here. However, side note, the Vikings, as we talked about back in the 800s, are going to actually come to America. So there was Europeans here first, actually, even on top of this. However, let's take a date here. 1492, Columbus sails the ocean blue. That's how you can remember 1492. And I'm saying the Vikings were in America in around 830. So that's a long, they were here way before. But anyway, they didn't stay. And so then Columbus can be, he gets credit for discovering the Americas for the Europeans. And again, he is one person. He has the idea of going west to get to Asia to get what? You guessed it, to get spices. And then he's coming this way and he runs into the Americas, and that's going to start something new. But before we get to Columbus and what he begins, as we talked about with Cortez and the Aztecs and everything, Magellan. Magellan is going to be the first person to circumnavigate the globe, which means to sail around the earth. He gets credit for circumnavigating. That is what it's called, sailing around the globe. The funny thing about Magellan, this is not really funny, Ferdinand Magellan doesn't actually make it all the way around the world. He is going to die before making it back to Europe, but it was his expedition, so his name is credited with being able to, with sailing around the world for the first time. But again, those are the two most well-known explorers during this time, but there were hundreds of people, and on top of that, on their explorations and expeditions, there was hundreds more people. But these are the most famous ones for everyday people. Most people, if you said, who's Magellan, sailed around the world? Who's Columbus, discovered America? Those are, what people pretty much know. So, it begins on this mission to find spices, right? Europeans are getting out there, trying to find spices. Let me give myself some room here. However, as we know, we saw what happened in modern-day Mexico with Cortez and the Aztecs, and not coming together, but really fighting. And what did the Spanish discover? Gold. That's going to be a big thing. There's going to be a big push for the slave trade. That's going to be another thing. All of this is going to turn into, and really it was about money in the first place, but this age of exploration is going to turn into a big money maker. So it could be gold, bullion, silver, precious metals. As I said, the slave trade becomes big business for certain countries. On top of that, we are going to start to see colonies. A colony is where people from, we'll just say from a country, could be just from a place, from a country, people from a country, let's say start living in a new land, new place. It's the best way. It's kind of a hard explanation. A hard definition, but an easy explanation. A colony is where people from a country go and they say, listen, look at this place. This is great. Let's build a home. There's 100 of us. We can live here. We can have land. We can grow our own crops, and that'll be great. So there are people from some country who go to a new place and begin living there. However, what's important to understand about a colony is that this colony, those people are not free. The people from a country go and start living in a new land, but they are under the control of we'll just say a parent country. So, you can go and live there, but people living there, you still need to listen to me all the way back in Europe, the United States of America, American history. This is kind of where this begins for us. England sets up colonies here in North America. We have a parent country, England. Our people came here from England. England was in charge of that area, and this was a colony. Now, why do we set up these colonies? This seems kind of odd. And why do these parent countries care about the people live? Like, just go there and live there. What do I care, right? Wrong. Here is why the parent country cares about these colonies, and that is going to be mercantilism. Mercantilism is a new economic theory. It's an economic theory. We'll just do this. From the 16 to 1700s. All right? So, mercantilism is basically the idea that these countries come up with to have power, their economy is good. They explain how to have a good economy, and that's mercantilism. Let me explain briefly. Favorable balance of trade. So the idea of mercantilism is this. Get and hold, like really bullion, or the idea is like gold and silver. That is the idea. Collect as much gold and silver as you can, and that makes you the most powerful country on the planet. Spain sets the stage for this, right? Spain goes to the New World. The conquistadors attack the Native Americans, but Spain gets a ton of gold and silver, making them hugely rich and powerful. On top of that, collecting gold and silver, another way to get gold and silver or money is through your colonies. Favorable balance of trade. A country in Europe should have more exports than imports. All right, what's an export and an import in this economic theory? Export. Favorite word again. Stuff. A country sells. So it's an export. It's being exported. It's being exited. It's going away from a country. A country makes it and it sells stuff away. Like, get out of here. We made you. Now we sell you to somebody. And you have more stuff that you sell than you do imports. Stuff. I'll do the same word. Stuff a country buys. All right, pretty simple, right? If I am selling a bunch of stuff, when I sell it, I get what? Money. If I buy stuff, I got to give money away. If I'm giving money away, what's the whole idea of mercantilism? Get and hold on to as much money as you can. And so I want to sell more than I am buying, because if I sell more, I then have more money. Who is going to buy my stuff? Ding, ding, ding. You got it. Colonies will buy. So this is why colonies become super important, right? Because colonies exist really for these parent countries to make money within this idea of mercantilism. They can use these colonies and say, listen, buy all of our stuff. We're sending it to you. Buy it, buy it, buy it. You want it. You want stuff from the old country. You must buy it. And the colonies and the people there do buy it. And so countries are getting rich off of their colonies. So they want more colonies, more areas, explore more stuff. Everything is driven on money. And that is the idea of this age of exploration. So it begins for this search for spices, which is about money. But then advances from just worrying about trying to get spices and come back to Europe and sell them. It turns into, hey, look, there's gold in the Americas. Hey, maybe there's gold other places. Let's go search everywhere and see what we can find. The colonies begin to, are created, and countries in Europe find out, hey, they'll buy stuff from us and we'll have a lot of money. Hence, mercantilism develops out of that. So this age of exploration starts just for spices, but then ends up with Europe basically just going around the world exploiting people, taking what people have, setting up colonies, living in different places. The king country in this mercantilism, age of exploration, setting up colonies and all this other stuff. Who is going to emerge out of all of these countries? Spoiler alert. England. England is going to be number one. Which is funny to say number one, because we're talking about a country that's doing kind of terrible things. It's going to places and kind of dominating the people who live there. England is not about friendship or anything like that. England is strictly going to new areas and taking over, and then making the people there buy stuff from them. And England's this small little island nation. Spain has its run, but England kind of defeats Spain in some conflicts, so we don't need to worry about right now. What we need to worry about is just that as we get into the 16 and 1700s, England has emerged as the world superpower. They had colonies in Australia and in India, all in Asia, in the Pacific Southeast, Southwest. It had colonies here in America. It was everywhere. England was everywhere, and so this is what's happening. This is the economic theory of this time period. I know I went a little long today. We will continue to move on with what is going to develop in the culture of Europe, but understand this. As we get into the 1500s, 1600s, starting with Columbus in 1492, we are going to see Europe and the European countries come to dominate kind of the world. And it's all beginning with spices and coming from money. So on that note, let's get these notes turned, on that note, get the notes turned into me today for participation and attendance purposes. And I will see you next class.